Thank you guys for joining with us. I am joined here with Mike Nguyen, our CEO. Mike, great keynote this morning. Really fun to kind of just hear State of the Union, kind of where all things are at with DroneDeploy, and really where we're going in the future. Any kind of notes for the folks that weren't able to tune in or weren't here in person that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, we just shared about how we think about the future and how that future is driven by our customers. I think that was the big story. We're just trying to share back some of the challenges we hear from customers as they adopt drones, as they adopt reality capture. And the big thing was just talking about how we're trying to drive that future forward, how we're going to unify reality capture, we're going to automate it, and we're going to make it intelligent. And so we shared a bunch. The product team did a great job. It was a lot of fun, and got some good cheers.
So we know a lot of you that are joining in with us live may have not had the chance to come here, but we're really going to be posting all things throughout the next few days about just customer reactions. We have all of our different partner spotlights over here that we're going to do some behind the scenes with as well. So really excited to have you guys tune into that on our different LinkedIn and social channels as well. Mike, tell me a little bit about where you kind of see DroneDeploy going in a year from now. So I've been fortunate to be here and have been a part of DDCs in years past. This one at the highest place that we've done it, 38th floor here in the Sheraton Hotel, but kind of give us a little bit of a run back of where the humble beginnings I feel like that we started from.
Well, if I was going to answer the first part of the question, where are we going to be a year from now?
Yeah. Let's start there. That's a good place. Yeah, that's a good place to go.
Well, I was going to say we need a taller building.
We need a taller building. Yeah, that's good.
No, I will rewind us. We started the company in 2013. It was early. There were very few people using drones commercially. Nick actually asked, my co-founder asked the question to the audience, how many people were using a drone commercially in 2013? And 4 hands went up. And the reality is now everyone in the audience they aren't just using a drone or reality capture technologies themselves, they're often running teams, up to hundreds of people. And so this technology is really spread out. And so we're excited for that to continue to grow. We shared our biggest single site that uses DroneDeploy. It's just one site, one construction site has 2,000 users. And so this technology is becoming more and more ubiquitous, and that's only going to grow, and it's going to grow in pretty much every direction. We shared a bunch about how we're enabling people to incorporate more types of data into DroneDeploy, not just from the air, data from the ground, 360 cameras. We talked about laser scanners. We talked about methane detection, trying to create one place for all this data to come into DroneDeploy, so anyone can see what's going on their job site, and at the same time trying to make it more efficient, both with automation of collection. With robots, we spent a bunch of time talking about the State of the Union there and how it's happening faster than people think. And we talked a bunch about intelligence and AI. How do we actually take this data and make it into an insight rather than just a data set?
So 3 main buckets, really the big themes of what we're talking about at DDC is unify, autonomous, and intelligent. And so which one do you think, let's kind of break it down a little, short-term versus long-term, right? Because there are short-term wins that we're seeing in those 3 buckets, and then there's really the long-term plays that are coming out. And curious to hear what your thoughts are on that, of which ones are having the most impact today, as in getting value, seeing really where the trajectory of that's going.
Yeah, I mean, we've made progress in all 3. But definitely the thing that we've made the most progress on is Unify. And that's because if you run back in time, DroneDeploy started as just drone flight. And then our customers said, hey, we want to fly drones, but we actually want to make maps. And so we did the process of photogrammetry, visualization of data. Then we extended it further to panos, to video, all of drone data. And we've kept on that journey. Now we've added 360 cameras. And so we have become that place that people are collecting every manner of reality capture and uploading to DroneDeploy. There's still more work to be done there. But that's the place that we've gone the furthest, and you're going to see us make even bigger investments in giving our customers one place they can understand their entire job site, they can share it to everyone on that job site, and everyone can get a good understanding.
Yeah, I think too, my favorite of those 3 is really the autonomy part, right? Yeah. Because I can appreciate the time it takes to go and capture a large site, a lot of the sites that you guys are customers are doing. When we look at kind of the intelligence side, that's kind of maybe the most unknown part, right? It's kind of a broad term. It doesn't really have a lot of maybe handles for folks to grab onto. What would you want folks to know about that part of it specifically? Because Unify makes sense. We want to bring all this together. Yeah. Autonomous, we want to obviously have something else to it. But on the intelligence side, what's really the exciting part that you're seeing in the different industries that we're getting to help with?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. So of the 3, Unified, we're the furthest along. Automated, we're actually further along than people probably think we are. And then on the intelligence, that's actually the end destination. That's where we're trying to get to, and that's the holy grail for a lot of customers. The challenge is in every industry, even if you were to divide an industry up into the many different components, people are looking for different things on the intelligence. The outcomes they're looking for are very different, and so the challenge for us as an industry is to figure out what are those things that we can actually automate with AI to figure out whether that be crack detection, asphalt, to benchmark pavements for our big retail customers, or if it's we talked a bunch about solar surveying. How do we actually get these steps down to be one-step processes fully with AI? It's earned value in construction. It's inspections in oil and gas. It's trying to build up a full digital twin of what's going on, not just in photos, but actually in understanding what the attributes of a job site are. What percentage of progress have you made? Where do you have problems? Which problems should you tackle first? And there's a lot to talk about there, and we're going to be on a journey for many years.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mountain climb that you are kind of in the fog, and you think you've hit your plateau, and then the mountains or the fog kind of clears a little bit, and you're like, wow, there's still a lot of more room to grow in that. And it is interesting to kind of think of it as that idea of kind of the end goal or the end destination, right? I was explaining to someone earlier about this idea that really these three components of unify, automate, and intelligence are really kind of the three legs of the table, right? Without really all three of them working together, you may have a little bit more of a segmented reality capture program. Any thoughts to that, of just the three of them kind of complementing each other, but yet being kind of instinctively different?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's like, three legs of a stool. I mean, it's a good analogy because to actually get the intelligence outcomes you're looking for, you need all the data to be together. You need it integrated with other platforms. And you don't just want data from today, you want it every day. And so for us to reach the end goals that we have to create this intelligent reality capture platform, we actually need both unified and automated. And equally, they all need each other. The reason that automated is going to be so powerful is that our customers have so much demand for all this data, and they want it to happen every day. And it's not just one sensor. When they're using a ground robot like a Boston Dynamics Spot, they don't just have a camera on it. They've got a laser scanner. Some of our oil and gas customers are also, in addition to those two sensors, putting on gas sensors. And so if you are going to execute in the automation journey, you need a space for all that data to go. And so this is like all of them fitting together like a puzzle.
Yeah, well said. I think we've kind of covered two ends of the bookends, right? Kind of the, hey, this is happening today, the unify part. That's where we're kind of seeing the most growth and traction, and kind of the end goal destination of where things are going with the intelligence. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the automation part, right? Because that's probably this near future that we're starting to see, and we've seen more around from the hardware side of it. Obviously, partnering with Boston Dynamics and the Rocos team now coming onto our team. But even the DJI dock, I mean, that's a really exciting thing that I know you and I have been waiting for many years, and it seems like, is this finally here? Is this time for this to actually become a reality? But talk about kind of this midterm part with where kind of the autonomy is going.
I mean, we're super excited about this. You can imagine we're a drone company. When we started in 2013, I think we all expected by 2022, most of the drones should be flying out of docks. And the reality, there has been a bunch of regulatory challenges. It's also been hard technology to build. The reliability that you need is the expectations are very, very high. So when we think about these two systems, you've got the ground and the air. I think in both spaces, customers are surprised just how far we've come over the last year. On the aerial side, we're very pleased and proud to say that we actually have DJI drone docks running with DroneDeploy software now. Under scheduled operations, so they have a time, 9 a.m. in the morning. The drones can wake up and they can launch themselves, create a map, and come home. That's now happening. You can expect 2023. That's going to be really the year that you start to see this on job sites. There is some regulations that need to come in to enable this to truly scale. But we think it's quite interesting is that the price point of these drones and boxes are coming down to the extent that even if you don't have a BV loss waiver, even if you need a person to stand and watch that drone, it's starting to become economical to buy them because the experience for that user is all they've got to do is click yes, I'm there watching. They don't have to worry about charging batteries or pulling out SD cards or figuring out what the drone should do. You've already minimized the number of steps down to just one. So that's on the aerial side. On the Boston Dynamics side, on the Spot, that stuff is working. We have it in across oil facilities in the United States and internationally. We have it on construction sites, and they're producing a tremendous amount of value because they remove the need for a human to do tedious work, to walk around a job site with a camera in their hand, walk around and capture LiDAR data. One of our customers shared that they can transform a 4-hour data collect into 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's got huge high value savings, and again, 2023 is going to be the year.
Yeah, I love what you said too about how really these three components of unify, automate, and intelligence really complement each other. It's really interesting to kind of think about that in the sense of really which ones, and you kind of have to build, they in a sense do build on themselves, right? Like you can't really get the full value of intelligence if you're not doing it automatically and having it done pretty repeatedly. Is there anything that's kind of surprised you in this space? You know, obviously you've been in reality capture for a really long time, but like, tell me about some things that maybe you didn't expect that has been really interesting to kind of see the last few years that have kind of taken off.
Oh, interesting.
I know that's a hard question, and if you're watching us on LinkedIn Live here too, please do submit your questions. I know Connor's over there working through those questions too, and we really want to get to those. But I'm giving you some more time, Mike, to really answer that, because it is a hard question, right? I mean, there are a lot of unexpected parts to the things that we get to work on, but yeah, just what's been kind of a surprise for you?
I think one thing that's been great, and we talked a bit about this on stage, is that how we've got these customers, all of them are visionaries in their own way. We've got to build the technology, but they're the people actually using it in the field. And one thing that's been amazing is that we've got so much feedback over the years. Like, can you do this and can you do that? And at some point after you've heard it for the third or fourth time, you say, we probably should do that. But it's been awesome to see how the needs of a customer in construction maps very closely to the needs of a customer in energy or agriculture.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen is as we've developed technologies oriented to one space, we've seen it massively adopted in every other space.
Yeah, that is fascinating too. I think oftentimes we don't really cross-pollinate with different industries, which is really fascinating. But I like what you said too, because events like this really bring folks from different industries, and many of you that are out there may think, well, that doesn't really pertain to my industry.
Yeah.
But I think the closer that you get to it, you're really surprised to see, man, the things that we really need to do are really similar to the things of other industries too. So yeah, that's a really good point to make. And events like this are really helpful, right? Because what we think was kind of our own workflow and our own kind of ways really starts to branch out and say, oh, you're also helping kind of push that narrative.
And I think that's the thing we always hear from customers coming, is that it's great to get the keynotes and the sessions, but really sometimes the biggest golden nugget is actually just chatting to somebody over lunch about what they're doing and picking up a best practice from somebody that could be in a totally different industry.
Yeah, and speak to that a little bit too, because obviously the both of us have been really sad that this has been a virtual event or postponed in different ways through the last few years. And tell me about how good it is to get back in person, right? Like the first DDC that I attended was, gosh, back in 2016, 2017. We have some people out here watching Austin that's what was in here, and it's fun because
Live audience.
Yeah, the live audience here at DDC Live. But yeah, just talk about kind of how that it really just changes these events and just how much of an impact it has on you guys as a leadership team, but also our staff too.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like going from like a broadcast, like a soliloquy. We're just shouting out there when we're going on a broadcast live, and it's great we can reach many people, but you can't have a conversation. You can't see how people react. You can't get that feedback in real time, and so I think that is a really powerful thing as we're meeting with our customers here. You're able to actually have the questions and answers. I think the information density just skyrockets with actually being in person, being able to navigate the conversations to the things that people want to hear.
Yeah, well said. It's funny, some of the best conversations that are had are the ones at the lunch and dinner table, which is great, you know, because you're really networking with people, and this really just provides a really great opportunity to do that. I selfishly appreciate that it's in Dallas, that you guys chose my hometown, which is always fun to bring everyone together, and yeah, excited for that as well. But tell me about kind of day two. What should we expect as more of these sessions are kind of taking on, and what you're kind of excited for in the upcoming kind of discussions that are coming on?
I mean, I think the one thing that we love to see and we love to hear about DroneDeploy, and I think surprises people, is just the scale of people's operations. One that I think is coming up soon is the Sunrun talk, where they actually operate, they do 160,000 flights a year. So that means at this moment, they probably have 10 drones in the air right now. And you can go, and we heard from Turner's doing 10,000 flights a year across their job site. So the sheer scale is the thing that's always exciting to listen to. I think one thing that's going to be exciting is hearing a little bit about the drones for first responders. I think those are always amazing stories and so relevant right now as a lot of drone pilots are out there dealing with the devastation in Florida. And so I think that's always an interesting one, is thinking about how we as a community can help our communities when they're in need.
Yeah, that's a great point. You guys can talk all you want behind us. We are fully mic'd up. That is great. I love the No, you are totally fine. Super fun. Yeah, and it's a good point to bring up too, right? Because I think when you start to bring folks together, there's just different levels of depth of conversations, right? And it's great for our staff to be here. We obviously get to interact with a ton of different people. I'm going to shift a little bit here because now I want to get a little personal and ask some really maybe drone deploy. Well, one last drone deploy related question. Where is it going to be next year? Where are we going to have drone? I have some friends that were talking about Salt Lake. I know that's a great area to go to. We're finally branching out of the San Francisco area. So what's your thoughts on where to be in future years?
You're asking all the hard questions. That's a good one. Well, Dallas has been showing us their best. I guess just to your point, we're going to have to find a bigger building.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's fun. This one happens to be up on the 37th and 38th floor, which is really great, right? I love what you said this morning about, we see these perspectives all the time from drones, but now we actually get to live in it. And it's interesting to see how, as we've grown as a company, we continue to put ourselves in fun venues like this.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we really appreciate the time. Mike, I'll leave the more personal questions. We have a thing going around right now of Texas this or that, which we'll post some videos here in a little bit of really the questions around, hey, so I'll cue you with a few of them so the folks that are watching, you can stay tuned for some. But the real battles have been Texas this or that, queso or salsa. Are you a queso or
salsa?
Okay. Salsa is not definitely the winner. We haven't had a lot of salsa fans, but definitely good to hear on that front. What about, this is a really hot topic in Texas, which for those that are watching, Texas really is big into breakfast tacos versus breakfast burritos. Do you have a preference of how you choose your breakfast food?
I've never had a breakfast taco, so
okay.
I'm going to give that a go.
Clearly, for those that are watching from Texas, we need to get Mike a breakfast taco, which I have told many people that we're going to have them tomorrow for some of them too. And then the last one, fun fact, the Texas State Fair is going on, which is really fun, right across the street from downtown here. Fried foods in Texas are huge. A lot of people enjoy our fried foods. Are you a fried Twinkie or a fried Oreo? And you may have neither, which is totally okay, but any preference of which one sounds better?
I will go for the Twinkie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Twinkie was definitely second in that regard.
I have all the unusual choices. I will say, when we're talking about Texas, I did manage to have barbecue twice yesterday.
Yes. So. Well, I know a lot of our team has been really excited about having some Texas-themed barbecue, which has been really fun. I too personally enjoy a good barbecue place. So anytime we get to bring people in town, it's all the best hitters, right? It's all the best restaurants that we get to go to. So Mike, thanks for joining in with us. This is really fun. I know we'll see you throughout the day here this afternoon and then into tomorrow too. So we're going to take a quick pause. We're going to bring another fun person up here to chat through some fun stuff, and my friend Austin. And so give us a quick pause to get things set up, and we will be back in just a few minutes. Mike, thanks for joining in with us.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining in with us.
Thank you.
We are back here at DDC live here at the DroneDeploy User Conference to really talk about all things behind the scenes, what's going on for the folks that couldn't make it out here, and no better person to bring on than Austin. So Austin, appreciate you joining in.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So this is really fun. Austin has been to quite a few of these. I think, we met at one of these back in, what did we say, 2017?
Yeah, I think so, because you were speaking at it, actually.
Now you're going to date me a little bit. Let's call it 2017, right? Just
Easy enough.
Keep the 5-year mark. Yeah, it's really fun. We were just talking a little bit with Mike about just kind of the community that's here, right? Kind of a fun chance to come back and really meet with some of these folks that either you interact with through other conferences or you kind of hear about from case studies and things that we put out. But just talk a little bit about like being back, right? I don't know how many conferences you've been to this year, or just kind of the idea of coming back to this idea that people are gathering again, right? The value that comes from that.
No, for me, this is my first conference, I guess, since COVID.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah. Just because it's been a slow moving, I think, to get back out. And I think COVID made us a little comfortable to not get out and move around. But yeah, I mean, DroneDeploy Conference is always great. It's, as I was telling some people earlier, there's a sense of community here. You start to see the same handful of people. Obviously, new faces roll in, which is good too. But yeah, I mean, there's some people I've seen, including you, but a handful of others I've seen at the same conferences since 2017, 2018, and so it's just cool to know that we can come together for a few days and share with each other the like-mindedness of what we like to do and what we do for work. So.
Yeah. No, well said. It's fun too when I heard someone mention it. I was going to ask you too. It's like construction kind of always has this idea of like trade secrets, right? Like what's your secret sauce versus the next company? And one of the values that someone was mentioning earlier was just like everyone's really honest. Like everyone kind of puts it out there and says, hey, what's working, what's not working. And talk a little bit about that, because I know that's really tricky for us coming from the construction side of life.
Well, I mean, I think we all like to, I think everyone has their own secret sauce in the way they approach things, but I mean, there's only one way to fly a drone. There's only one way to capture the data. So I think when it comes to those kind of things, it's just more learning the pain points that, we as a construction group have gone through. I've picked your brain a handful of times about different things that you went through at your firm before you were here. And so I think that's where people are real honest in saying like, this is to talk about how your drone program is structured. I mean, there's no secret sauce there. It's trying to get executive buy-in. It's trying to understand who in leadership you need to talk to and those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. The three main points, we just got done talking with Mike here, and in the keynote, he really focused on these ideas of really unifying information, making that information autonomous, so capturing it on a scheduled frequency, and then also making it intelligent. Which of those three kind of stands out for you the most? I know they kind of impact different people and different worlds and different kind of personas, I guess, but which of those kind of stood out as we were talking about some of those this morning?
I mean, I think it's cool to see them all come together, right? Because it's always been, when we first started with Drone Deploy, it was this thing of how do we capture photography, right? And you've been in the construction industry, you know what it's like. It used to be that's a cool thing, that's a pretty picture. And to see how Drone Deploy's evolved, even from 2017 till now, is really cool. And to see how those three things will continue going forward, I think is an awesome thing, because I would say each year new things come out that maybe even myself, I'm like, I didn't even really think that would be useful until you start to use it and things like that. So
no, that's a good point. What's funny, Mike touched on this earlier, this idea of they really complement each other, right? Like you can't have one without the other, or really you may not get the most if they're not combined into. So any thoughts to that of just like how really you can't really get intelligent information if you're not doing it very frequently, right? And
I mean, so you gotta, I think of those three things, the frequency to me is what is key to growing a drone program, right? Because if you're scanning once a month, dude, so much changes on a job site in a whole month. So to do it more frequently and then to make that autonomous and to get that data quicker, those things are gonna make the drones become better for job sites.
What's fascinating too, I know just this idea of unification, right? Construction, we call it the software exhaustion, right? Today I heard it called as like one extra tab, which honestly we should make a t-shirt of eliminating one extra tab. Talk about that a little bit too, of just the challenge that a lot of us experience in construction, that there's so many point solutions out there, right? There's a lot of different things that can be used for this or that, but I mean, from your guys' perspective, you're evaluating tools all the time, right? And
for sure,
what are the things that kind of rise to the top as you think about tools that you're selecting and kind of where Drone Deploy fits into that?
Yeah, so to start that, I'll just tell a little bit about how we came to the Drone Deploy platform. Is the sense of community and almost family, right? Like the sense that we could come in and share our ideas and our thoughts with things and talk to the people through some of the pain points that we felt. Yeah. So I think when we look for people, and I think someone said this in the keynote, but partnership, right? Instead of becoming a service provider, we want to see that as more as a partnership. And we've always felt Drone Deploy very much so. So when we're looking at and evaluating different things, it comes to that. But to your point about having multiple softwares, it's so much easier to train people inside of one ecosystem, right? Sure. Versus, hey, you need A, B, C, D, and E app, and you got to do this or this. And so, I mean, I think when you talk about what makes it, eliminating that extra tab, it's like, if it can all fit inside of one place, let's do it, because it's going to be so much easier.
Yeah, totally. And it's hard too, because you want to be the best for all phases of construction, all parts of construction. But the reality is like, hey, if, one of the core values of Drone Deploy is simplify. It's like, man, I just want to simplify how many tools we're using and what that looks like too. I'm curious. I'm going to transition things a little bit more personal, but I want to ask some other fun questions before we wrap up too. of just like what surprised you, like what, and just kind of being back here interacting with some folks. Anything that's kind of like taking you back a little bit that you're like, huh, I didn't really either see that coming or maybe was just a new kind of fresh.
I mean, I would say that it always surprises me because I think you hear it all the time, like, oh, customer fit first and we're customer facing, but it's really so true of how Drone Deploy is, and it always doesn't shock me, that's not the right word, but
You can say shock. It is a little. It's surprising.
yeah,
Maybe is a better way, yeah.
right? And you know this because is where you came from before, but it's like they truly do care a lot about what we as a customer want and what we see in the product. And to know that you have that kind of feedback from even the executive team that is here, that's a cool thing because you don't always get that everywhere you go. And as personable as their executives are, it's awesome. Mike and Jono and Nick and stuff. It's so cool. It's nice to be able to just rub shoulders with them, sit down, talk to them. You don't always get that with every company you're
totally.
working with.
So I'm going to transition to some fun questions. not that those weren't fun, but I really want to go to some questions that we had talked about last night, which I just think these are really funny and just really good questions to kind of consider. So I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it was a question that came up that I just think was a good. Drone Deploy is getting a new name. What would it be?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It's interesting because at work I have a guy that I love to death, and he always calls us the drone nerds.
The drone nerds.
So
okay.
maybe drone nerds. How about that?
Which is a company out there.
Yeah,
Drone
yeah.
Nerds, we appreciate you. Great suppliers of all things drones. Thanks for making it happen. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you would call it?
I can't really. I don't know.
I think we got a tweet today that someone said site deploy. Oh, that was interesting.
You are going to have to change it because you're becoming more full reality capture. So
yeah.
Reality capture deploy. How about that?
Reality capture deploy. Connor, let's hashtag that. Let's put that out on our social channels. That's really good. What about this? This was an interesting question. If you could fly a drone anywhere, personal, work related, like where's the ultimate dream to like fly and capture drone imagery from?
Oh, it's got to be like Rome or someplace in Europe. Some of those
Rome?
old, buildings that have, thousands or hundreds of years of facade and things like that. That would be cool to see in a 3D image.
Okay, no, that's good. I got one more, and then we're going to get into some of this or that. That's kind of become the popular thing here.
Yes.
Gosh, these are all really good questions to kind of think through. Spot's getting a robot name change.
Okay.
What should it be?
Oh, geez. I don't know what's up with all the name changes, man. Why can't we keep it
I
what it is?
think Spot. It kind of it really. You don't really know what it is. Like when you tell me, oh yeah, I saw Spot. It's like, what the heck is
How about like
Spot?
Robo-Dog?
Robo-Dog?
It just feels right.
We need to put some like googly eyes on him too, or just some sort of eyes to make it look a little bit more personal. Or
It's funny. We tested one on one of our job sites, and I think it freaked more people out.
It's pretty understandable when you think about it. You're like, okay, this is what is this machine? that people all come over to take pictures.
Well,
of it
do you remember when you first flew a drone on a job site? What it was like?
Oh, for sure.
And that's what Spot has become.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Other than the fact that you don't have people telling you, "Oh, I bought one of those for my kids."
Yeah, right. What's also funny too is like, when you fly a drone, it's the immediacy of like it taking off, and then obviously people don't really know what you're doing with the controller. But with Spot, it's like usually it's out doing its own thing, and it's like, hey, you don't know who it's going to go run into or talk to or rub elbows with in a sense. And it's funny because we get a lot of customers that actually do their capture at night. Okay. And so let's say you have like a late night janitor or someone that's back in the office.
Oh,
like,
dude, that's scary to
what
death.
What is this thing walking around here?
I just got done watching iRobot too, right? It's like
All right, so we're gonna change the questions up a little bit. I know I asked you these earlier, but
okay, I'm ready.
I'm gonna switch up the question in this. So we've been playing this or that all throughout the day here with just some fun customers here that are at the conference. I'm gonna switch it up here. I'm gonna go drone deploy this or that. And I know I sent all right. We talked a little bit about a few of them earlier, but aerial, ground.
Aerial.
Okay. Map or model.
I think I told you map, but after seeing what some of the modeling stuff is, I might go model.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay. What about weekly or monthly?
Oh, you got to go weekly.
Okay, good. I like hearing that.
Yeah.
Earthwork or inspection?
We've been in our company late, and we've been pushing more for earthwork stuff. So I'd say earthwork.
Okay. Okay. Export or import?
Oh, my thing. It's gonna be export.
I get it. and I think I know the answer to this one too. Flight services or in-house flight?
You know, it's interesting, and I talked about this in my panel, but obviously to have an in-flight is nice because you can capture whenever. But flight services has been a benefit to us that DroneDeploy has. Before that, it was, hey, we got to fly myself or someone to a remote location, have them fly it in the pursuit of work, and now
Is this a shameless plug for flight services, by the way?
This
or that has turned into some good feedback on.
Brooks will be happy to hear that,
right? Yeah, Brooks will come get you. Issue or annotation?
Annotation.
Okay. Android or iOS?
Oh, dude, come on. Who uses Android?
I know. Green bubble folks, you're tried and true, never going to change. Reality capture or site documentation? What's the better way to say it?
Oh, reality capture.
Yeah, I agree. Reality capture is a little bit better there.
For sure.
And then, gosh, last one. CAD overlay or PDF? Or sorry, no, CAD or PDF?
Well, sometimes it's hard to get the CAD, so I'd say PDF.
PDF all the way?
Get that. But CAD's, I think, is a little nicer.
Okay. That's good. Okay, we're going to switch it up, and then we'll pause for another break here. These are Texas-themed, this or that. So.
But you got to answer mine.
Oh, are we going to go do it back?
Yeah, I said
Let's go.
Longhorns or Sooners.
Okay, Longhorns or Sooners. So.
Because you're talking Texas Fair.
I know. Okay, so the state fair is going on here in Dallas. The second or third week of the state fair, they always play Texas and Oklahoma. It's about halfway in between each of these different schools.
Oh, it's more of a home game for Texas.
It is a little bit more of a home game. I get it. So I have a good friend that's a UT grad. Well, what's funny is two of the guys in my wedding went to OU, diehard OU fan, and then another guy was a diehard Texas fan. So I don't really have any. So I went to school at Iowa State, another Big 12 school. So I would say neither. Iowa State. I know I can't answer really that way, but...
Well, that's because people don't understand you're not from Texas.
I know. Well, this was another question, too. We're totally off railing, but hopefully we're still... Connor's our view count still good? Yeah, we're good. Okay. No, we're rambling. This is good. We were talking about that the other day. Is like, how long is it before you become a Texan? Or are there things that make you a Texan once you're like here and you're like bought in?
I feel like you need three things.
Oh, this is good. We got to write these down.
A bolo tie.
A bolo tie? Yes, that's awesome.
Cowboy boots.
Okay.
And a belt buckle.
Okay, so I have 0 for 3 on each of those.
See, and I have all three.
Okay,
and
so
I'm from Utah.
Clearly,
so
Austin is way more Texan than I am, that's actually very true. I think that's pretty fair. I don't have cowboy boots. My wife does.
That doesn't count.
I know. I haven't gone down that track. But the bolo tie, that's an unmatched Texas themed thing. I haven't seen anyone wear one yet, though.
I'm sure we could find.
Are you wearing the bolo tie tomorrow?
No.
Cowboy boots, belt buckle?
No, none of that.
So one of the gifts, it's funny, a little off script here, but one of the gifts we were thinking for the speakers was a belt buckle.
Oh, that would have been great.
Which then we were like, well, you know what? It may not be the most used thing out
Yeah.
there. You're like, you don't go flashing a belt buckle probably
That's
outside
true.
of the state of Texas, but that's okay too.
All right, I got one more for you.
Oh, okay, yeah. No,
okay, so I heard of this as a thing, fried butter. I heard that Texas Fair tried that one time.
Okay, so Texas, I mean, what they're known for, I'm going to go a little off screen here to get this, but I actually brought this over for a lot of people. Here, this is actually going to be the next segment that we're going to pop into. This is the Texas State Fair Visitor Guide. And so I know there's a lot in here, but really I just need to draw your attention to page number 2. And that is all things fried Texas Fair food. So I actually went here a week ago. That top right says Holy Biscuit.
Okay, I see it.
Man, that thing was amazing. I wouldn't say that I've had the fried butter, but all things are, I mean, man, you can't go wrong. It's just really good stuff. But flip one more page here to that. New foods. And dude, I'm telling you, take your pick. I think probably out of the, how many are there on here? 36? And I know you guys can't see it on here, but we're looking at all the new State Fair fried foods. And man, I think probably 30 out of 36 of these are fried. And if it's not fried, it's ice cream. So any of these stand out here?
The Mother Clucker chicken sandwich.
Dude.
The name alone is just...
I mean, unreal.
And a pork belly burnt in. I mean, that's...
Come on.
That's the other thing about Texas. You got to have a good barbecue.
Yeah, definitely good barbecue. So yeah, I would say I haven't tried the fried butter yet.
Okay.
But
all right, and I'll answer one of yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so really I know your barbecue preference, so it wouldn't be, I already know brisket or ribs. It's going to go brisket.
Unless it's beef ribs.
Beef ribs are pretty good.
I would take beef ribs over brisket.
All these folks that are watching are like, man, we are going totally DroneDeploy related, but it is okay. We're going to pause and go to another segment here in a second. But Austin, man, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
This
man.
is super
Appreciate
fun.
it. It was fun.
Really appreciate the time hopping on here. We're going to be posting some more stuff throughout the day for you guys to have some behind-the-scenes access to. And so, Austin, always fun catching up.
Yeah, man.
Good to
Appreciate
see you.
you.
We'll pause and take a break, and then we'll wrap it up here with one more segment soon. Michael, man, I feel like we just interviewed Austin, who's been to so many of these DDC just user conferences, but gosh, what number is this for you? I mean, when do you stop counting? That's maybe the better question.
I never really counted. I just enjoyed them as they came. They were kind of my trip for the year.
Yeah.
For a while there. I think I've been to all of them except the first one.
Okay, so first one.
So the last one at the office in San Francisco was the first one I came to, and I think there was one more before that.
Gosh, yeah, it's and I met you probably at the 2015 or 2016 DDC.
I think 2015.
So we were talking about how long ago when we have dog years and then we have drone years, right? I feel like 5 years ago in the drone space was like, oh, you've been in this industry for like 20 years.
Then you got the old people years.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. What stood out? You've obviously went to some sessions here this afternoon, and you've went to the keynote this morning. What's kind of stood out?
I feel like the world is catching up to us, because there was a few of us that were out there at the beginning. You had your sector covered, all those guys that were in the customer advocacy council, and we were pushing at that point and asking for features already.
Sure.
And this is really when they got going. And so yeah, the RTK, we've all worked with companies that had the ability to set GCPs, which was always a struggle for people who didn't have that gear. Always took the gear. The RTK workflow, things that are announced here and things that are yet to come. But I loved Hunter's talk. I mean, it was spot on. I have to say, I have a personal investment in DroneDeploy because we've been using it for so long. And it's developed to what I do, at the same time. And when they pulled up the 3D contours, I had like a little heartstring tug, because there's a couple of things. I'm real active on the forum, by the way. Michael L. on the DroneDeploy forum, and I love being on there. I was actually telling Mike Wynn that's my first tab in my homepage. So I got DroneDeploy and I got a couple other companies.
We're all about removing tabs here, and Michael is growing those tabs of like, hey, I want to help this person and this person and this person.
Absolutely, yeah. So and on Reddit, I'm Elf Trooper, ELPH.
Okay.
And there's a story behind that, but we won't go there. But yeah, anyways, so just the industry has caught up, I think, because you're almost at the edge of what technology is even capable of. And being in survey and construction, those are two sectors that it's always been a hard time getting technology in there.
Yeah.
Until you could prove a use case. And DroneDeploy was one of those where I just gave them a small taste. I did like a monthly subscription for a couple of months trying to prove out my ROI that I was going to put in the proposal. And it was a big number. Man. It was good. And from there, it was just like, why? I've tried lots of different softwares. I've talked to different companies. And just DroneDeploy, in my opinion, is the most personable. I try to keep the forum going because just the background that I've come from and the way I was raised is that you teach people what you know. Some people don't want to listen, but you try, right? Yeah. And I think we've developed a really good core group on there. Yeah. There's a good 10 or so, 10, 15 guys and gals that know their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well said too. I think Austin was just here talking with us about. He was kind of alluding to, hey, what stands out at a conference like this, or even just a gathering, whatever you want to call it. And he was mentioning just the community aspect, right? And we've taken a break from conferences and kind of slowly coming back into things. But I mean, talk about that through the years. I mean, again, you've been on the forum, you've been interacting with a lot of folks, and the difference of being here in person, like how does that really change when you get to put a name to a face to people and kind of start to interact on that front?
Yeah, absolutely. The COVID years were tough, because we had already developed this community. I think I started in the forum in 2016, and so the community was already there, and then we lost it. So it was kind of like we lost momentum at that point. But I can tell you that now, since we have been able to do things in person, it's coming up faster than it ever has. I mean, I don't know if you look at the charts, but looking at 2020 versus 2021 versus 2022, from 21 to 22, had a huge spike.
Yeah.
So there's good and bads to things.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting, you know, we saw a lot of folks kind of embrace this idea of reality capture and just site documentation to be able to access things virtually just spike during COVID, right? And to no surprise, we were priming kind of the bonfire of sorts to say, hey, like, this is a real thing. There's real value here.
Absolutely.
And that obviously drove it to another level.
Yeah, I wish I had stock in Zoom.
Right. No, it's and it's interesting too when you think about just how the feature sets kind of progress. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from an end user. You talked about just kind of the listening aspect of, hey, they really do want to embrace the ideas that we have. I know Mike even earlier today was talking about how really any feature that you see and interact with in DroneDeploy has come from some sort of feedback, right? Like it's obviously
Absolutely.
user driven, but talk to that a little
That's
bit.
where it's all come from. I mean, you think of the guys that started this company, and the purpose that they started it with was flight autonomy. Then we wanted to be able to make maps. And then, you know, so we've seen it grow from the beginning, which has been a blessing because we've kind of been able to help tailor it to what we do. You know, ag and mining and those guys had been running drones, been running machine control for a long, long time.
Yep.
And we caught up to them. Now the construction industry is taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah. It is fascinating too. You know, Mike talked about how earlier on the show he was talking about how you learn things from different industries, right? And you kind of learn. You know, I think all of us try to kind of stay, you know, head down, focused. But when you kind of lift your head and start to look around, what have been things that you've learned from other industries that have kind of helped your own, you know, program and what you guys are doing?
Absolutely. And I mentioned ag and mining again because that is construction. It's land development. You've got assets as part of that land development. Mining, we've got materials on materials on materials. You know, we deal in quarries and pits, and so there is so much that's similar when you take those other two industries and put them together that we have a ton of use cases for drones. I mean, we're primarily a civil contractor. When we build 4 or 5, you know, or so decent sized buildings a year, but that's not our focus. Our bread and butter is the civil, and by doing all phases of construction in-house, we get to put the drone in each of those, you know, just unique situations.
Tell me a little bit about ground capture. So obviously you guys are, you know, civil based, and the value of capturing large, vast sites just makes a ton of sense. What's your thoughts when you hear the kind of expansion or unification of both ground and air? And any kind of thoughts to some of those things?
Absolutely. Ground capture, I think there was a certain point in time where DroneDeploy kind of switched from the type of like volumetrics and this kind of construction to buildings. And then you saw the efforts and the technology that was booming out of that move. So as, you know, primarily civil, I still look at those, like you said, looking across industries. Well, I'm looking across the solution. It may not be something that was designed for what we do, but I can pull things from it.
Yeah.
So we've taken advantage of 360 walkthrough on sites. I put, you know, an X2 up on top of my truck cab, and I just drive around the site like normal. And now we have superintendents doing that. So they're capturing data as they're going.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear just one of the core values of DroneDeploy is simplify, right? And there's something kind of unique to this idea of simplification. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone wants to remove a tab and kind of, but there's almost an elegance to it in a way that you can really bring some of these different platforms together and start to get the value out of that. You know, Mike talked a little bit about this morning of these 3 core buckets that we've touched on and focused here today is just this idea of unification and autonomy and intelligence, like those being the 3 pillars of where DroneDeploy is going. Do any of those excite you, or which ones excite you is maybe a better question as you kind of think about those in categories?
You know, I think automation probably, because in a construction company, like I said, technology is sometimes hard to get in, but that's primarily because of cost. You know, and when you're staying on this leading edge, things are going to cost more than the guys that come on 5 years down the road, you know. So the whole thing with the drone is decreasing labor, increasing quality of life. So we pay for our surveyors. We do work that is not safe for them. So as soon as we can put that in the hands of somebody that's sitting at a desk or is at another job site to just say, go and do that, in my opinion, that's much safer than anything we do now. Because we've got, thousands of pilots, tens of thousands of pilots, I don't know, across the United States every Monday, driving around, going to job sites, flying this drone around. And when people are involved, unfortunately, it's inherently dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest part for us is it will allow us to do more flights because of the cost aspect, but also it's going to be safer.
Yeah. Well said too. You know, Mike was talking about how there's kind of the unification is happening now. The intelligence is where we're going in the future, and really the autonomy kind of fits in between there, right? I mean, we've been waiting for different hardware pieces like the DJI dock and the Skydio dock and different applications on that front, but that really is kind of where this nearest future is going, right? And so it's interesting to hear you kind of focus on that part of it too, of just saying, hey, the automation piece really is exciting, and from the perspective of it being from a safety perspective, and because it has these mutual benefits.
Right, and I say that one because, in my opinion, DroneDeploy already knew that it was going towards that unified platform. I'd seen it develop. I saw the features that were coming online, and when inspections hit, I knew we're moving towards project management software at this point. And then you leverage SharePoint and Bluebeam and PlanGrid, and to me, it's already unified. Now we're just kind of cleaning up the edges on the unification. So automation is the next big boost. You know, that's the evolution.
Yeah. No, good point, Michael. Super fun. This is always fun. One, I always enjoy getting to see you.
It shouldn't be too long next time.
Yeah, right. We were talking about. I was pushing Mike for another year in Dallas because obviously it's closer for us. We enjoy getting
Austin,
to,
Texas.
Hey,
is
Austin, another
place.
great
we
spot.
got a couple of good buildings.
I'm sure we have some
to put
folks
in.
that are watching and tuning in from Austin too, which would be really fun. But Michael, thanks for joining us. It's really cool to have you. Appreciate the time. We're going to wrap some things up here. Yeah, great to see you. Thanks again. We're going to wrap some things up here. DDC Live will be back tomorrow from, Connor, remind me, the time is right 1 to 2 o'clock tomorrow. So for you guys that are looking to join back with us at DDC Live tomorrow, we will be tuned in. Follow us on socials, all sorts of socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Really, that's where we're going to be posting a lot of this content throughout the day. We really appreciate you guys tuning in with us. It's really fun to see the engagement, interaction, and all the comments. We hope this was fun, and hope that it was enjoyable. Had some really fun time talking with some folks too. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow, and until then, happy flying.